Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to your happy place. We are more than glad for you to tune in with us again. Today, we are going to talk about something you guys wanted us to discuss for a long time ago, and we finally brought someone to give us a professional point of view about behaviorism.
Okay, so talking about behaviorism, it is known as a theory of learning, which states that all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment, through a process called conditioning. I know this could be a confusing topic, and to give you all of you an introduction to this topic for a better understanding about it, we are going to introduce you our special guest who will answer some of the most important questions so you can understand it, Dr. Natalia Restrepo.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalia Restrepo Duque. I'm from Barranquilla, Colombia. I'm a psychologist graduated from the Universidad del Norte. With experience in the educational and social area, I've had the opportunity to train and educate myself on topics such as character education, psychological first aid, relationship counseling, and emotional disorders. I just finished a postgraduate degree in sexual and couples therapy, and I currently have online sessions with my patients. You can find all about my services at www.nataliarestrepoduque.com.
Okay, let's continue and begin with our interview. First, within any of your patients, have you ever noticed a malfunctioning of this theory?
Yes, of course. For example, I've had children who say that talking to their parents about their personal things, about their feelings, scares them because on past occasions when they tell them something, they always criticize and judge them. It has happened so many times that children feel scared when talking to their parents. They are scared to be judged, so they don't trust their parents and start hiding things to avoid feeling that way. So this is a perfect example of condicionamiento clásico because an unconditional stimulus elicits an unconditional response. So after a few stimulations, you will have a response to the mere presentation of the conditioned stimulus. This response is known as conditioned response. So children just having the presence of their parents feel fear.
Second question. How's behaviorism involved in your daily practice as a psychologist?
The way I see this theory on my daily basis is how fascinating it is that all of what we do, in this case, all of what my patients do and act, is based on past experiences, on how their acts were reinforced or extended by certain response. For example, many patients, especially women, in their current relationships, they rather not state their opinions or points of view to their partners when they are mad, because in past occasions with their exes, when they were mad, they reacted in a bad way and didn't let them express what they wanted to. So those experiences shape the way they interact with their new partners. Because we've only seen them mad, they rather stay quiet and not express what they feel because they are scared that they are going to judge them the same way their exes did.
And finally, if you get a patient that comes with several behavior issues at home, that doesn't follow any rules because his relationship with his parents has always been troubled and he's just 13 years old, based on the theory, what can come from this situation and how can it be fixed?
If a child has had problems with their parents in the past, there are many possibilities of why this might be happening. For example, maybe as parents they are not reinforcing the good behaviors that their child might have sometimes. Also, maybe the parents are not a good example for them. They might talk to their child in an aggressive way, and the child will also do that by example. The way their parents correct him also affects the child's behavior. Maybe the consequences are being or way too hard or way too light. And also maybe they just pay attention and reinforce in some way the child's bad behavior and they ignore the good behavior. In that way, the bad behavior is going to be reinforced over a long period of time and the good behavior is going to be extinct.
Dr. Natalia, thank you very much for sharing these minutes with us and for giving us all this valuable information. Surely, our listeners who were waiting so long for this topic were left waiting to know much more about all the concepts and history of this theory. So, Natalie, could you give us some information about the creation of this theory?
Of course, Isabella. So, as behaviorism is a way of learning, see learning as a long-term change in behavior that's based on experiences, accompanied by a determinist factor, means that there is a cause and explanation for every action and behavior of every human being. It was first proposed by Ivan Pavlov in 1870, after he experimented ideas with his dogs. He finally published the results of the experiment of conditioning after original studying dejection in dogs.
Oh, that's the origin of classical conditioning.
Sure it is, but do you know its fundamentals?
I actually do know something about it. So, classical conditioning is a type of learning that happens unconsciously. It's the process in which an automatic conditioned response is paired with a specific stimulus. Look, the whole process will create a specific behavior resulting in the adaptation of individual psychological characteristics. To give a great example of this classical conditioning and for you to understand it better, why don't Diane give us an example?
Hey, Valeria. I don't know. Let me think about it.
Come on, Diane. I know you can think of a great example.
Yup, I just got one. So imagine one day you have to get a shot, and the doctor says that it won't hurt very much, and then gives you the most painful shot you've ever had. And let's say that a few weeks later you go to the dentist for a checkup. For him to examine your teeth, he uses a little mirror in your mouth, but he says, "Don't worry, it won't hurt very much." Even though you know the mirror won't hurt, you will get scared and thinking it for sure will hurt. So, in few words, and for you to understand it better, when you went to the shoot, the words, "this won't hurt very much," became a conditioning stimulus when they were paired with the pain of the shoot, the unconditioned stimulus. And your response of fear in the dentist was the conditioned response you had to the stimulus.
I'm going to continue this history recap. Um, John Watson, he said that behaviorism was a science of observable behavior. In 1913, John Watson wrote an article entitled Psychology as the Behaviorist Views. Since then, there were set out a large number of underlying assumptions regarding methodology and behavioral analysis. He also continued with the classical conditioning proposal proposed by Pavlov and made important contributions to this theory. Also, following his idea that environment determines who we are and our behaviors, Watson did some sort of experiments, including the Arbet experiment. Do any of you know it?
Yeah, I read it while I was preparing today's information for our podcast. John Watson was most famous for his work with an 11-month-old infant named Albert, although his methods would be highly unethical. Today, Watson made great contributions for classical conditioning. For example, Watson conditioned little Albert to have fear of rats using a very similar methods to the one used by Pavlov. Every time little Albert was presented with a white rat, Watson made loud noises and the child started crying.
So, taking it back to a little bit of history, B.F. Skinner was another principal actor and creator of this theory. He talked about radical behaviorism, believing all human action was the direct result of conditioning. This was known as the operant conditioning, where the consequences of a response determine the probability of being repeated. He believed that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of an action and its consequences. He tested with a project named the Skinner box, in which he deduced that there are three types of responses. The natural operant, this one is the response that came from the environment, and it neither increase or decrease the probability of the behavior repeating. There are the reinforcers, which can either be positive or negative, and the behavior can really be repetitive. And for the last response, you can find the punishers. This one weakens behavior and decreases the possibility of being repeated. I actually find this very interesting. It is amazing how behaviorism can change a lot of things.
Okay, guys, if you want some spicy discussion here, yesterday I was watching TikTok and suddenly a comment appeared about this theory. But this is a lot of blah blah blah. So, to resume, a psychology student wrote that this theory is thought as an efficient way of parenting. But this is not questioning that in the long term, punishment and reward might have consequences. So, this is for you guys to think about, and my dear girls here will share with us their opinion.
Yes, actually, this morning I think I saw the same TikTok that you referred to. And now that you asked us our opinion about punishment and reward, I could assure you that a punishment can be a double edged sword. It is of vital importance that children or young parents, including oneself with self punishment, know how to think the most appropriate punishment for the situation. We cannot abuse of this tool. If we do, as you rightly said, it can be psychosocial consequence in the development of the individual, and we can deviate from the main objective of the theory.
Well, I definitely can relate to what Natalie said because I use the method of punishment and reward every time I think I need it. It's really good and I think it helps me a lot to know where my own limits are and how be judicious in things like college, English, and my duties. That's how I have developed my sense of responsibility. But obviously, I have never abused of it. I just do what I think it's fair for me, like forbid myself going outside the weekends, stop watching series for a while, not using the phone, and many things like that.
Yeah, talking about kids, my opinion is that this theory shows them what is good and what is bad, and teaches them that every action has a consequence which depends on whether you did things right or wrong.
Oh, my girls, I'm really sorry, but here I am forced to differ with you. I think that punishment and reward are a really negative influence and even more referring to children because they are in a learning process where they may develop unexpected feelings and reactions with the person who makes the punishment. For example, it could be fear, distrust, or lying to the person to avoid the punishment, making them not look for you as their first option if they need help. It could even make them doubt about themselves. So, I think there are other ways to teach children how to act properly and respectfully.
Yeah, Valeria. For example, if I had a child, I will treat them without threats or hoaxes, but let them know the consequences of their actions. I will help them to think in a solution to repair the damage, never punishments, and do it. If they need my help, I will be there. And that's how the children will think in their parents the time they need help in a problem.
That's right. I actually follow a TikToker. Her name is Machi Guerrero and she's a psychologist. She teaches how to raise and take care of a child in a properly way. So, if you listeners want to learn more about her job, look her up on TikTok. She's really, really good and I personally love her so much. So, guys, with this final recommendation, we're done.
Thank you so much for being here listening to us. Love you guys. Take care and see you in the next precious chapter of this happy place.